Welcome. In this session, we'll look at managing exceptions when you are creating an ERP connector statement for transfer to finance. So in previous sessions, we looked at how to create a statement. And to view the statements, you would come here to the folder Created Detailed Statements. So for all of those that are in status of created, those are fine. They just need to be posted as we reviewed prior in order to transfer. You may see some statements with a status of error and the number of exceptions. So what this says is that there are some exceptions that occurred during the creation of the statement that have to be resolved before you can post the statement. So to look into this and resolve it, we're going to go to detailed statements, and then we're going to go to statement exceptions. Actually, I skipped a point. So come back to created detailed statements. You see that on this error, it's statement number 707. So we're going to go to exceptions and look for statement 707. And we see it right here at the top, and we see the 4 exceptions that were referred to within that statement. So the exception details tell us right off that the problem is that there's not enough detail in the account mapping for the item that was sold in order to assign a general ledger account number. So that's what this means. It's missing a value of account, and by that they mean general ledger account. To figure out the details of why this is happening, what we can do is select a row and then go to open source history transaction. So this pulls up the actual order that was processed that created the error. And if we want to drill into the detail of that order even further, we can go to source audit in the ribbon and then click open source order. So this gives us, sorry, open the wrong thing. I wanted to open, not open source order, that opens the actual PMS lodging order. Open source ERP set is what we're looking for. So these are the transactions. And this tells us a little bit more. If you see here, gives us the order number, and it tells us that the error occurred, or the sale was for a parking item. So they sold parking as part of a lodging folio. So that tells us enough that we should be back to the ERP mapping. If we go back to the ERP mapping, what we should do is make sure that there is an item in here for parking that is the same, and it's and that item is enabled for the property that we're working with, which is probably not the case, and that the appropriate account numbers are filled into this grid for all scenarios where a parking charge might occur. For example, here, the next step that I would probably take would be to add an item for accommodation and a product type of parking and fill in the account numbers. Once that's done, you can go back to your created detailed statements and select the one that has the error, in this case, statement 707. And then you can select reprocess exceptions. And if your adjustment was successful, you should, when you refresh the screen, you should see this error count go down or go to 0. And then if not, you would simply repeat the process for each exception until your status is created and your exception count is 0. Okay, so we looked at managing exceptions in Selenium. Let's now take a look at managing exceptions in Nav. Assuming that you were able to resolve the exceptions in Selenium and post the statement and transfer the statement to Nav, you can view those statements as we showed before here in the Selenium statement transactions list. Let me scroll down here, see if I can find one with an error. Okay, so if you have an error, then what you'll see is a line that's highlighted in red here, and you also see that it's not flagged as having created the journal because there were errors. If you click on the line, you get a option on the menu to view the error log. So you can click the error log. And here you may have just a few like this one, or you may have many. I find it simplest if you have many to sort by clicking on the error text, and that puts all of the errors of the same type together in the list. So in this particular one, we see that the issue is related to taxes. So what we would want to check for this particular error is to go to the Selenium statement type mapping. Let's go there. And we see that this is a lodging statement that had the error. Okay, so we would want to make sure, as there is a lodging line for a lodging type statement, a transaction type of tax, and that the rest of these fields are appropriately filled in here. If I have a tax code, that should be adequate. So once the changes are made, you think that you've made the changes in the setup necessary to resolve the error, then you come up here, you can come up to the action tab, and you'll see a button called reprocess statement. And so you simply click that button. You'll get a response, and then the line should go black and go into a status of posted. If it does not, then you would just repeat those steps of selecting the line, looking at the error log, seeing what the remaining errors are, and trying to resolve the error before reprocessing the statement.